the ancients say, but a true and honest thought, that if you become a teacher, by your pupils you'll be taught. As a teacher I've been lagging, you'll forgive me if I boast, and I've now become an expert on the subject I like most. Getting to know you.
Rodgers Hammerstein's The King and I is the most sumptuous musical of them all. One of the great classic shows from the golden age of Broadway. It boasts one of the finest scores ever written. It opens on the deck of a ship as it snakes upriver at dusk, heading for a glimmering royal palace in 19th century Siam. No version of the show has managed to lay on a feast for the eyes quite like The King and I, which will be playing in the Congress Theatre in Eastbourne and the Lowry in Salford, ahead of a limited season for 6 weeks only at London's Dominion Theatre in January 2024. The production has already enjoyed a record-breaking runs on Broadway and at the London Palladium, with an internationally renowned creative team headed by the multi-award-winning director Bartlett Sher, whose previous hit productions include My Fair Lady, To Kill a Mockingbird, and South Pacific. Critics in New York and London are in agreement that this is the definitive version. I doubt I'll see a better production in my lifetime, said the Wall Street Journal when it opened at the Lincoln Center in 2015. Breathtaking, exquisite, remarkable, agreed the New York Times. After winning 4 Tony Awards, it first arrived on these shores in 2018 to another chorus of cheers and an Olivier Award. The Daily Mail left the London Palladium on a bright cloud of music. Looks and sounds ravishing, said the Daily Telegraph, while the Financial Times found it simply spellbinding. The King and I makes its highly anticipated return to the West End after a 5-month UK tour, with 2 new stars in the lead roles famously occupied by many before them. Broadway and film actor Darren Lee, who plays the King of Siam, and Helen George, who of course we all know from Called the Midwife, returns to the stage after many years to play Anna Leonowens, a widow from Victorian England who has travelled to Bangkok to teach English to the King's many children. And I'm delighted to say, as you can see, that Helen is with me now. Hello, Helen.
Hello.
This show, as I've said, you've not been on stage in a long time. What was it about this production that lured you, and this show that lured you back?
Well, I haven't done a musical for years. I've done lots of plays over the years, but coming to a musical, and I think I knew I wanted to do one because this is what I trained in originally, but it was finding the right one. And I think what I found with the musicals I was being offered were, they were sort of, the roles being offered, they were kind of approximations of Trixie. They were kind of the blonde cameo part that was kind of funny, and, you know, she wore hot pants or whatever. It was those sort of parts that I was being offered. And I think this was the first sort of fully fleshed out, brilliant lead that I was offered, that I just couldn't turn down, and paired with Bart's amazing direction and this fantastic version of it, which, as you can hear, has had some quite good reviews. They've been all right, haven't they? And Trafalgar, who are fantastic companies to work for, so it all kind of just fitted in really well.
I've got a 2-part question about Anna, because there's the real Anna, who was a real Victorian woman who went to the court of the King of Siam and wrote a book about it. How much research into that Anna have you done in preparing to play the stage version of her?
I think what's fantastic about this role is there's 2 Annas. There's the Anna that wrote the book, that actually went to Siam, and then there's this character which she created for herself, which was basically her life, which, you know, she then sort of embodied. But she'd never been to Wales. She wasn't from Wales. They think that her mother was in service, potentially, you know, a housekeeper or something. They think she was possibly of Anglo-Asian origination, culturally. She was married to a sort of clerk. She wasn't married to an officer. She was, you know, she came from sort of nothing and invented this character for herself, and then pursued a career. She was a widow. There was a lot of death around her. I think within a few years, her father, mother, She had some children that died as well, potentially. So she created this amazing part for herself to play and then wrote a book about it. And, the rest is history, here we are. But, the text itself is still banned in Thailand because the royal family completely disagree with her version of the truth. That there were so many parts of the actual story that weren't written, and, the king is portrayed in a less favourable way than they wanted him to be and stuff. So politically, it's still so active,
Part two of the question is about when you talk about she created this role for herself to play. Rodgers Hammerstein did the same. They created another Anna. How do you go about finding that Anna to play in a musical first story?
Excuse me. I think every night when I go on stage, because I did the first leg of this tour, I think about the Anna that she actually wanted to be, and I sort of, in my head, sort of marry the two and embody the sort of dream of Anna, because that was her wish, that's how she wanted to be remembered. And I think Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote this incredible script. And some of these scenes are 15 pages long, which rarely happens in modern musical theatre, in many musicals, and yet they hold. And when we were on tour with it, you couldn't hear a pin drop in so many of the scenes, and yet they have all these, someone said bangers, like amazing tunes in this musical, one after the other, that you can't believe are all in just one musical, but with the foundation of the script. And I think that's what drew me to this, because it's a play with music. There's nothing fluffy about it. It's completely, it's so depthful, it's so insightful. The writing is so sharp and witty and so modern. This was written in the 50s about a Victorian woman, and yet someone said to me, one of my friends came to see it and said, God, it just feels so modern, because it could be a modern tale, and the language is so fresh, even though it was written years ago.
Talking of the 50s, you mentioned Trixie yourself. Are there correspondences? Are you comparing and contrasting? Have you found there's any kind of overlap that's been interesting for you to explore or draw on?
Well, I think they're both bloody strong and bloody minded. But I think Trixie has a sort of vulnerability that's palpable, and I think Anna always hides that because it's not going to serve her. She has to sort of be as alpha as the king. She has to be an alpha in every room that she enters. And I think Trixie sort of embodies the feminine more than Anna does. I think she leans into the masculine.
I know that when we were talking about what we were going to discuss today, it was actually you who said, can we talk about the fact that I am known for being someone who's acted on television.
Off the telly. It's that girl off the telly doing a musical.
That was your phrase. And you are showing a side to your performing talents that will not have been seen by those who know you off the telly. Is that something that you feel very driven to do, or determined to say, that there's more to me than might previously have been seen?
I think when I set out, I think there was probably some naive part of me that thought, I'm going to put that to bed, but I'm going to use it one day. And these days I just think, no, it was just something that, I did train to sing, but it wasn't something that I knew that I would definitely use again. I kind of almost put it to bed so much so that we really had to blow off the cobwebs of my voice when we came up, because I hadn't sung for so many years, and it's a muscle that needs flexing. But it was really lovely going back to it, which was my first love. I always wanted to do musical theatre, and I just got lost along the way.
I think it's probably an appropriate moment to hear one of those bangers, is it not? But before we do, you're wearing a beautiful dress today, but you wear something that is a little bit more physically inconvenient in the show. It won an Olivier for costume design, this production. But could you talk about the kind of dresses that Anna does wear, or rather you wear, and what that means to the way in which you perform?
Well, they don't help, that's for sure. Well, they do actually, that's a lie. The corset makes me work hard. It's actually really good for singing. It kind of really supports you in a way. The dresses are enormous and heavy. They're wide. There's many theatres around the country that the set fits in, but the dress does not. Really doesn't. And I'll sort of come off stage and there'll be coat hangers and cobwebs and small children coming out of the dress, just dragging everything along with me. So they're pretty enormous, but they are amazing to wear. I mean, I'm so lucky to wear, and they're really intricate. There's a real sort of, I love the Indian linen that we use and the kind of ethnic twist that she has to her gowns as well. They've really thought about it.
What are you going to sing for us?
That sounded like I was going to choose. I will always love you.
It's the Rodgers and Hammerstein jukebox. What's coming out, and what are you singing?
Well, we've got some children here today, so I think it'd be rude not to use them.
Okay.
So I'm going to sing Getting to Know You.
Could you tell us a little bit, just before you do, about where it sits in the context of the show?
So this is the first time that she really, she's been teaching for a few months now in the Palace. But I think this is the first moment when she really breaks down the divide between the English teacher and the children, and they really become comfortable with her. And I think it's the first time that they truly welcome her into their community. Getting to know you, getting to know